I am Positively Kris Pace, and you are actively listening to Conversations with Kris. Everybody, good to see everyone. I'm back again with another amazing podcast. This guy is going to blow your mind. I know a little bit about him, and I can tell you that he's already blown my mind. So his name is Casey, and he's got a heck of a story to tell. It's very inspirational and motivating. So Casey, I'd like to welcome you to Conversations with Kris, brother.
Thanks for having me, bro. Appreciate the intro.
Absolutely. And so tell us about a little bit in a summary version so we can kind of break down what your story was and how it all played out. I know I've watched some of your reels and some of your content, and man, absolutely just inspiring. It's inspiring. It's nothing but inspiring. So tell us all about what's going on in your life and who you are today, and then we'll kind of dive in deeper. How's that sound?
Sounds good, brother. Yeah, so just like a general overview, one of the adverse childhoods, like a lot of us have, led to signing and enlisting to the Marine Corps at 17. I was a helicopter mechanic turned gunner. So I flew on CH-53 Echoes, did a couple deployments to Afghanistan, got out of the Marine Corps, was dealing with some health stuff, not quite sure what was going on. And then I still needed a little bit of that intensity in my life. So I found the 1% motorcycle world and started riding with the Mongols for like about 3 years. And as I got progressively sick, my time in the Mongols ended. Then I ended up dealing with the health issues up until 2022, which is when I got diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, glioblastoma. They gave me 3 months to live, and I immediately refused the standard of care, chemo and radiation. That just didn't seem like it was going to work for me. My gut told me just to avoid that at all costs. So since 2022, January 2022, essentially, I've just been fine tuning my way to beat brain cancer. Holistically, there's a completely well-rounded approach. We can dive into the things I've done, but yeah, I never touched chemo radiation, and I beat a very deadly disease. And so what I've done with my journey is try to share it. I've battled the VA, so trying to make changes in the VA, trying to find other treatment options for terminal cancers and way to get treatment faster. So right now I'm just still on my healing journey. I feel like once we all get on the healing journey, we realize that everyone will always need healing, that we're all each other's teachers, and we're all just doing the best we can with what we got at the time. So here we are.
Man, that's a lot of things, and I've got some good news for you. I know a guy who I just met over in Bali a couple weeks ago who is a brain cancer survivor, and he went to Thailand and had a shaman basically do brain surgery on him, and he's completely cured, and he's been alive for years, and he's fine, and he's got some great information and contacts. And as somebody who has TBI, obviously not the same type of thing, I have a lot of understanding of what you must be going through, and also the information. Think, dude, I'm the same exact way. If there was ever cancer in my body, there's no way I'm not adding more cancer to my body to try to get rid of cancer. And so chemo and radiation is not an option for me. I did do some research on it. Have you ever heard of the Gerson therapy?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Okay. So that's one that's obviously working really well. And then, obviously there's new information out about ivermectin and all that stuff too. So, man, anything you need from me, I'm happy to help. I'm also a firm believer that if you just believe you're healthy, that your body will reprogram itself and put itself back online. But let's go back and talk about some of I come from a similar background. I had the worst case scenario childhood. Was forced to go into the military. Did service in the military. Got hurt in the military. Didn't want to ask for help. That kind of thing. So afterwards, we got into the martial arts fighting world. Sort of like your motorcycle club, and then ended up finding yoga, which ended up becoming my savior after the VA put me on so many meds that I didn't know whether I was coming or going. And the stories are very parallel. I like to hear what you've gone through because it inspires me to keep going with what I'm doing. And obviously, I've been given a great opportunity now, which I think is a reward for the consistency that I've put in over the years through all the hard. I mean, let's be honest, we've gone through hell. And they say a warrior is one who goes through hell and is grateful for the legs that carry him. And you are that, my brother. So let's talk about like when you're in the Marine Corps. Like how did that go? Would you? I mean, I know I don't. I know I tell people all the time, don't ask a vet what happened in their service unless they offer to tell it to you. But in your situation, I believe you have something to offer people that's very inspiring. I tell people that it's trauma, just like rape. You wouldn't ask a rape victim to tell you about rape. So, but
Yep.
one bet to another, brother, share some information because I think it's important for people to understand what you go through when you come back. And we're both in the same group right now, working on the same project of healing and helping veterans. And I am willing to tell my story to a certain extent. There's just things I don't talk about, and war is one of them. So you can leave out what you like, but I'd love for you to share a little bit about your time in the Marine Corps and how all that went and what that did for you as far as establishing who you wanted to be in life.
Yeah, brother. So very similar, I'm sure, to your experience. I went to Afghanistan twice. I was very successful in the Marine Corps, got promoted super fast. When they call it the shit hot Marine, right? Like 4.9 pros and cons. Expert all the things, 300, 300, like maxed everything out that I possibly could. Meritorious promotion, sergeant at 21, like everything that you could possibly do. And I love being in the Marine Corps because it was a competition. I grew up not always the most confident kid, but I love to prove myself by my actions. So it was easy to compete, whether it be sports, fighting, whatever it may be. I let the actions do the talking. So in the Marine Corps is a perfect environment for success in that manner. Um, Being a helicopter mechanic, I started off that way. I knew after my first deployment I needed to get into the action and that there was a roadmap for me to get that way. And that was, do my time as a mechanic, first deployment under my belt, then become a flyer. So Afghanistan, first time around, there was some indirect fire, stuff like that, but it wasn't too intense for me, right? Like it was far less intense than my childhood. So
Yeah.
Afghanistan
Yep.
first deployment was just, kind of like preparing for, okay, I know what this place looks like. I have an idea of what it's going to be like moving to and from Afghanistan and back. And then the flyer training started after I got back home from my first deployment. And let me tell you, like, that was always my dream, was to fly in helicopters, to be a door gunner, to be an aerial gunner, air crew. You're able to get on the battlefield and help these guys out in the worst moments of their life. You're bringing, bullets, beans, band-aids, like, all that stuff out into the area of operations to all these guys that are located all over the place. So it's a very fulfilling, rewarding job to be able to support the mission, to support the ground guys and making sure that they're taken care of so we can keep pushing. So my second deployment to Afghanistan was way different than the first, man. When you're actually like out getting shot at on a regular basis, when you're out, watching people get hurt on a regular basis, bringing people in, not bringing everybody out, or having someone extremely injured right there in front of your face and having to know what to do, and these kind of things start to weigh on you. And I don't feel like I need to go into too much detail about all that, but I think like painting the picture of, I went on 94 combat missions my second deployment, and I left Advon. So I was pretty busy.
Wow.
Yeah, we were slammed out there, bro. So at one minute you're doing an infill, the next minute you're carrying packs here, you're moving cargo, you're bringing supplies, you're doing an exfil, you're taking shots here. Like it's just a busy, busy job.
Yeah,
When
that's as many as I've ever heard of anybody doing. That's a
Yeah,
94. Woo.
we were busy on that deployment, man. There was guys that had just over 100 on that deployment that were putting in work. So all that stuff started taking its toll on me. Survivor's guilt's a real thing. Moral injury is a real thing.
It is.
So when we're just kids, 22 years old, 23 years old, you're still kids. Still trying to figure out life, and you're in a combat zone from the second you turn like 19 until you get out the Marine Corps. So, yeah, dude. So like I kind of just like stop that there, and we can discuss that, or I can move into
Nah, that gives me plenty to go off of. And tell
yeah.
you how linear our lines are, brother. I was exactly the same way. I got into the Air Force and I absolutely rocked it. I won every award, was promoted early, even accepted to a commissioning program to go be a pilot, which was always my dream. And I had, I won Airman of the Base, Airman of the Quarter, Airman of the entire United States Air Force. I don't know. It was like I had so many awards. I didn't care. I just was on path to be a pilot. Got accepted to a commissioning program. They sent me back to college to be an officer, which, wanted to be a pilot, did not want to be a commander. So, and then obviously head injury happened, things started to unravel, and wasn't going to ask for help. I wasn't going to talk to anybody because that was firmly implanted into us. And, so I didn't want to lose opportunities, so I never said anything. Which then, obviously, like you said, when you get out, 9/11 happened. They killed the pilot program, which took away my dream. I was okay going to die for my country, but I wasn't going to be an officer and command other people to do it. That was not something I was okay with. So I was like, look, I'm done. I've done my 6 years. So that's how linear our stories are. I mean, we literally have lived the same lives. And like you said, I mean, for me, everybody who joins the military, whether you're a paper pusher or whether you go to combat, we all want to fight for our country. But every single role is equally as important. And the day you sign the dotted line that says, I am giving the United States government everything that I have, and up into and including my own life, that signature right there makes you a hero in my book, because you sign up, and you can validate this. No matter what job you have in the military, you constantly are in a state of fight or flight. Every day you wake up, you believe you're going to probably die the next day. And that living that way for years and years and years, and then coming out and you're like, wait, what? And also, they take care of everything. So now you don't know anything about how to manage finances or find jobs or any of that kind of stuff. So you're like, and you're looking for community because you used to be with your brothers and every day, all day. Now you got nobody around all the time, so you're like, that you joined the motorcycle club. I got into the UFC thing. Like, we looked for avenues to be a part of something, and that's why I believe what we're doing with all the veteran organizations and helping veterans, man. You and I and people like us that are vets that actually have gone through it. I'm sure you walked the line too of, this isn't worth it anymore, and we could have been one of those 22 very easily. I know I sat and played with that for a minute, and I'm really glad I didn't, because obviously there was a bigger picture for me, and it's a real thing. So I think the people that have been there, done that, are going to be the ones that are going to really make an impact and get the guys to come to our program, which will hopefully come government mandated. Man, it's a crazy story. It's so in line with mine that I'm like, wow, this guy is really impressive, because I know how much struggle I've had to go through, and I know how hard my life has been. And there's been very few glimpses of happiness and peace and contentment and any of those types of things. And I found yoga and meditation, which has really helped me out a lot with a lot of the things that, I deal with and that I have to face day to day. And, severe traumatic brain injury is not something that you see, but it's certainly something that has more of an effect on someone than even saying losing a limb, because you lose a leg, you can put a prosthetic on and go back about life. You lose your brain, your CPU is broken. And, the amount of things that I have to go through daily, and now that you're dealing with this brain cancer thing, I want to offer any type of information and any type of help that I can from what I've learned, because I know a lot about the brain. I can't remember any of it, so I have to write it all down. But that's why the podcasts are great. But I mean, first and foremost, I want to thank you for the service. I think it's amazing that you were such a stud in the Marine Corps, and that I was such a stud in the Air Force, because now we've got some connections on both levels. Because we all know that, Semper Fi, you guys are loyal to each other, and that way you'll be able to pull the Marines in. And us Air Force guys have our own stigma, right? So, I mean, we can kind of connect with the two different branches. And what was your favorite moment of being in the service? Your favorite thing about being in the service? Because I know for me, it was just the camaraderie, it was just the community, and that was really what I loved and I missed the most. What was yours?
Man, I would say like the camaraderie, but to be completely honest, when you asked me that question, I could just picture myself flying in that helicopter, man. Like there's
Yeah.
no better feeling than
Every mission, huh?
ripping in a helicopter, dude. Like some of the most beautiful places I've seen in this world are in Afghanistan. So like I've always been kind of a loner, man, like a lone wolf kind of personality. So like as much as the Marine Corps was fun, like I disagreed with a lot of stuff. So like I really thrived when I can go out there and perform my job successfully and flawlessly. So when I was out flying, that was like top tier KC performance, like in the zone, being able to perform at the highest level, and I absolutely loved it. But there was that you have the brothers to left and right of you that you're willing to die for. So like having someone that you know is willing to die for you and you for them, that's something that you'll probably miss for the rest of your life unless you have someone in your life like that on a daily basis. You'll always miss that.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I agree with you. I can see where that would be absolutely the most amazing part of it. And especially since it was what you wanted to do. And you actually got there. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get there because I fell apart too quickly before it happened. But yeah, and we talked about too, like when you're in the service and you're living that life, and then you come back and you realize as you grow older that like what we believed we were fighting for was not necessarily what we were fighting for. And now we start to gain a different perspective on things. And like you said, survivor's guilt's a real thing. And I know a lot of vets that really battling that. Tell me what you did to kind of help yourself get through it, because you're obviously now more positive and inspiring than, someone else that has been around there. And I was stationed in Okinawa, so I was literally on Marine bases my entire service career.
Sorry,
And
dude.
I'll be honest, it kind of sucked, right? I joined the Air Force and stayed on Marine bases. I was like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to have the cushy life. What the hell? But I love my Marines, dude. They were good people. I tell them all the time, I'm glad you're here because you guys stopped the bullets from hitting me. But no, tell me what you thought about that, because I know that's something of a big topic that really needs to be looked at and addressed, is that, why me? Why did I make it back? Why am I the one here? Probably now you understand why, because
Of
obviously you're
course.
here for a massive reason. But,
Hmm.
tell me how you battled that and went through it, because it's certainly something of a common subject.
I think we probably all start off in the same area. Like you probably don't turn to the best thing right away, more self-destruction right away. So when I wanted to die out there, when I wanted to sacrifice and give my life up for this country to die with purpose, that was like would have been my dream, like truly an honorable death.
Right.
And when you're watching so many people, like you're still a kid, but you're watching like 19-year-old kids. You're now 22, 23, you're a sergeant, you've had some experience. Um, but now you're watching these kids on their first deployment and they're getting smoked. You got these
Yeah.
guys that, been there literally just their first flight into their base. And the next thing you know, they're getting hit by a VVIED. And it's like, dang, dude. So you start to feel that and it weighs heavy on you. Or your friends die in a training accident, you lose like 6 year boys in one training accident, a flight that goes down. So when you want to give it all you got and you want to sacrifice yourself and put your life on the line, and you just see all these other people that you feel like that should be me. And then you get out and it was self-destructive at first. It was drinking, it was partying, it was all these things, and that could only go on for so long. Like
Yeah.
it could really only go on for so long till you tore yourself down mentally, physically, emotionally, to where you couldn't sustain any type of health. And I was already at that point, physically. So I had a turning point, man. Like honestly, the turning point for me was plant medicine. I tried the VA stuff. I tried the standard of care, the SSRIs, the beta blockers, the tranquilizers, the antipsychotics, the benzos, like all that. I tried it all, man. And that wasn't my issue. That was never going to fix anything. That was just a band-aid for a much deeper issue.
Yeah.
So cool, we can control the way things respond in your body chemically, but like on a soul level, like your boy was messed up. You know what I mean? So so in
Yeah.
2018, and it took me years. I got out in 2014. It took me 4 years to really find this medicine, but I wish I had known somebody that was like, hey, dude, in the plant medicine space or an alternative healing space, like it didn't need to be it for me. It was like one extreme to the other. You know what I mean? There's other places in between that you can kind of fall on for your healing, but I needed the Mack truck. I needed a sledgehammer. um so I smoked some DMT, bro. I'd eaten mushrooms before, and I tried these other things before. um but truly where my life changed on a positive trajectory was when I had an ego death on DMT. And
Well,
it
isn't that amazing? I mean, I love my DMT experiences where the provided me more peace in life than anything else has ever provided me. And I don't know how else to say it other than that. Like it was just and so I'm glad. It's funny to hear that you had that's exactly the same thing for you. As a, dude, we might be actually the same person. We're certainly the most tatted up people in our
yeah, I
group.
know, dude.
So like, but yeah, keep going. I think that's beautiful, man. I love that. So
Yeah, so we both know the level of surrender it takes to have like a profound experience. So like when you can finally surrender to such a deep healing, that's also like part of the huge part of the process, and understanding that this physical life is this physical body, like physical death is not the end. And when you realize there's so much more out there than just your experiences here, and that these experiences are just lessons, teachers, and we're actually here to experience. So you start to dive deeper into these like really firmer understandings or understandings of like what existence may be. And everyone's perspective is different, but for mine, but meditation and yoga were very, very big. Like I got into, working in the dream space, lucid dreaming and building worlds and concentrating on meditation. And I don't recommend everyone go vegan for a long time, but I went vegan long enough to like clear my body out. I had a lot of toxins from the Marine Corps. So I started to clear my body out spiritually, got the body rinsed out. and then was doing all my practices. So my energetic practices, like I said, yoga, meditation, like sound baths, and you know, I was doing also the deprivation tanks, the float tanks, and
Yeah.
really like playing with crystals, like really the beginner stuff, like really just jumping in. And that was all like very beautiful how I started to pick and choose what worked best for me. Um, but I kept on the upward trajectory. But I had this physical illness I didn't understand, and I didn't want to work with the VA. Much like you understand, the VA really, it's only to help a select number of people who want to fall in line and they're going to listen to everything they're told and just trust the doctor because he's a doctor. And I don't get down like that, and I can't just trust somebody because they have some degree. Like, what have you actually learned? What the textbooks told you? What the pharmaceutical companies sponsored for the
You know what?
textbooks for you to learn? Yeah,
I'm notorious for saying this to doctors all the time because you're absolutely right. As I go, you know what you call the guy who finishes last in medical school? Doctor. And
that's
so
right.
I'm like, so where'd you finish, bro?
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't listen to you because you got a DR in front of your name.
yeah.
So
So,
I
so you,
feel
you
you.
understand perfectly, bro, like what all that looks like. So
100%.
the healing was deep. I connected with nature a lot, like, getting outside, taking your shoes off, getting in the dirt, getting in the woods, like the
Yes.
ocean, like whatever you can get in. Like, it's so important for us to reconnect with nature. It's such a big part of our health, for me at least. Um, and yeah, so I kept on climbing that mountain of healing until I realized like what I have going on inside of me is seriously, it's a very serious issue, and I need to go get help. And it took until I got out in 2014 and I was already getting sick. And then 2022 was like, emergency room visit. And so it was
Wow.
just a long list of what I could do: healing energy work, plant medicine, all these things, but nothing was strong enough to really get me to that point until I understood what was going on with me physically.
You know what just came to my mind is that you and I both have such similar lives and similar paths, but we also, because we were the way we were in the military, it's just absolute go get it. I'm going to be the best. When we found out we had issues with things and the VA wasn't working for us, we both did the exact same thing and went out and looked for anything and everything that we could possibly find that could help us out because we understood that we had to fix ourselves. But now that what we're building this veteran village and this program and the yoga to the Olympics, which you're going to be in that obviously as well, we're going to be able to offer all of this information and this kind of healing that we went searching all over. I went 52 countries looking for information because I was like, there's nothing happening over here, so let me go find something anywhere else. But now we're going to pull it all together in one place and be able to offer it to veterans one spot. And like you said, I don't think there's one solution for everybody. I mean, I've tried it all too. I eat sort of like a pescatarian diet now, but I've done vegan, I've done all the other stuff. But you figure out what works for you through trial and error, really. And you've done the exact same thing, and it just shows like how much drive that we had, not only to succeed in the military, but also to succeed afterwards. And I tell people I fought two wars, the one in the military and the one against the VA. And I won them both, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm sure at least I'm winning right now. But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't plan on being here right now. And another thing you said earlier that I wanted to bring up was talking about training exercises and the amount of people that are injured, killed in those types of situations. I don't think there's enough attention paid to that. I think people think that everyone who dies in the military dies from war. And that's not really the case at all. I mean, probably the majority of injuries, like or career-ending injuries or death, happen through training exercises, preparing for stuff. And you mentioned that. So can you like touch on that a little bit more? Because that's a topic that I don't think we talk about enough. And people who have been hurt through training exercises are still doing what they're, you know what I mean? It's like if you're training for for National Football League and you're on practice and you get hurt, you're still hurt. It doesn't matter that it was practice. You didn't get hurt in the game. You still got hurt. You know what I mean? Like doing your job, what you're doing. So can you just talk a little bit more about that since you mentioned it?
Of course, man. Yeah. So I think this is very near and dear to me because I had January 14th, 2016, man, there was a helicopter crash off the coast of Hawaii in Waimea Bay. And we lost, I think it was like 12 guys, man. And there was about half of that crew that I knew personally, a couple I trained with, a couple I deployed with. And this is the thing about training, right? It's training. So people aren't ready for the big leagues yet, or they have been and they're reintegrating back into training to stay up on their quals or to stay sharp. Well, you have newer guys in training, and you have like a mixed bag. You have like a newer pilot and an experienced pilot, um, and the things that could happen, you know. during the training missions are just as catastrophic as if you get shot by an RPG overseas and you go down with your guys. It's just as catastrophic because no one survives. It doesn't matter how they die.
No,
And
exactly.
so when you have guys with a lack of training, it becomes a safety issue. And that's why you try to mitigate through the training exercises. But it doesn't always come out to where everyone's unscathed. A lot of people get killed every year. I mean, you hear of birds going down, helicopters going down, and it's a really sad thing. And I think it comes down to, it could be mechanical issue, it could be lack of experience, but you just don't know. And the way we train, every branch, the way we train is for action. We train for the highest level, for combat, whatever it may be, to perform at your highest level. So whether it be you running an obstacle course and you fall off and you break your leg, or you're doing a Humvee practice and you roll over and someone dies, which happens all the time. You have traumatic brain injuries that happen all the time. I worked on helicopters, man. You fall down and nail your head on a piece of metal. Like, dude, I've been rocked so many times in that helicopter, and let alone other things. But so there are very serious injuries that occur every single day in training, because we are training, if not harder than your deployment's going to be, right? So you go out to, they used to call it Mojave Viper or CAX, but like 29 Palms, you do your workups for Marines, and the conditions are horrible out there. Everyone hates it out there. And it's to prepare you to go to Afghanistan, which are very similar conditions, and sometimes they're worse in other places in combat. So you're training at the highest level to perform at the highest level. So you can expect mishaps, whether it be a lack of skill, whether it be literally, something as a mechanical issue, or, flipping a Humvee. This stuff happens all the time, guys. So like, people understand, like, you don't have to go to combat to get injured. It's very common for people to get injured in basic training, let alone like your years into the fleet and you're still training and something happens. You're jumping out of an airplane on a routine dive and your parachute malfunctions, like anything like that. It's very common.
Yeah, no, that's something that is near and dear to my heart. I don't think people, I know that we trained harder for everything. They were trying to over prepare us for anything that we came into to deal with, when it comes down to combat. But the training that they did, they tell you, hey, we're going to train harder and train you more so you're over prepared for anything that could happen. And you're right. So many accidents, so many things happen. And those people don't need to be devalued or considered less important. You know what I mean? Like, to me, again, once you sign that dotted line saying, I'll give my life for this country, and you show up every day and you try to give your life for the country, and let's be honest, all of us wanted to die for America. We wanted to be ended there. And then that's what happens when, and especially for the people that are in the training exercises, I know the psychology of that is hard, because after you go through that, you think, well, I never even really got a chance to go do what it was I wanted to do, because I got cut out before it happened. But they need to know, as people, as human beings, and as disabled veterans, that they're still just as much validated in their injuries and in their service to this country as the people that went to war and died there. Like, it's no different. There is no difference. We are one brotherhood, we are one service, and we are all in it together from the day we sign it out of line to the day we're discharged. And then afterwards, it's up to us to stick together and fight it out together too now. And so, man, that's just incredible the way you phrased all that, put that, because I feel like it's something of a topic that needs to be talked about, and someone needs to be pouring more attention into it, because I know a lot of people who would say to me, like, I'd say, hey, why aren't you on disability? You've got all these problems, your issues. Well, yeah, but they only happened in training, and I just didn't feel like I should apply for benefits. I'm like, you were in the service, you were training to serve your country, you were to me, I'm like, no, 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 you are just as right. But they also don't have any idea how to go about it, and a lot
Yeah.
of people, and especially with brain injuries, like you said, TBIs happen all the time. And then what do you do afterwards? Like, if you don't, we don't won't ask for help, we won't admit we're hurt, we got a brain that's not working correctly, and now somehow we got to figure out and navigate the Veterans Administration, which I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but that's a
Still battling it, man. I just want to add one thing to what you just said is, people, there's a feeling of inadequacy because you didn't go to war, you didn't go to combat, or whatever it may be. But everyone has to understand this: you sign your absolute freedom, your sovereignty away to the United States government. You become government property to do with them as they will. You sacrifice your bodily autonomy for the government, for this country, for your brothers and sisters everywhere. There's nothing inadequate about that. So anybody out there that feels inadequate, shift your thinking around. You're selfless as it comes. Just because you might not have an active combat role, even if you went to combat and you didn't see combat, that doesn't make you inadequate. Trust me, on the other side of that combat spectrum, you deal with a whole other side of issues that, it's like, hey man, like be careful what you wish for. And also understand that the selfless act of signing the dotted line to join the United States military is one of the most honorable and self-sacrificing thing you can do. And don't forget that, regardless of how you feel about what you do out there, what we do out there, just remember why you joined, and don't feel inadequate at all.
Man, that is such a great message I needed to hear, and everyone else needs to hear as well. Because the fact of the matter is it takes 15 different troops to make one F-15 fly. Now the pilot gets to fly it, and that's the guy who gets all the glory, fame, and visibility. But the other 14 people and 15 people that had to work on that plane to make sure that it was ready, to make sure that it was going to be able to do what the pilot needed to do, are just as important and need to be just as recognized. And those guys need to know, man, you played your role, you did your job, and that king couldn't have fly without you. So get yourself together, come to us. We're here to help. But we want you to know, man, that's just exactly the message I wanted you to get out, because that's such a topic that we don't touch on enough. And I think there's too many veterans out there that don't think they're worthy. And like you said, they wanted to go to war, and we're volunteering. I mean, there's a waiting list in the military. They don't know this, civilians don't. But like, you can't just get up and go to war. Like, you got to sign up, because there's a long list of people ahead of you that are volunteering
Yeah.
to go too. And those of us who don't get to go and do it, or don't get to go and be a part of it, or get hurt on the way there, it doesn't change the fact that you, like you said, you did what you were supposed to do. You signed. That's the most selfless act I think you can ever have. And the respect needs to be there for those people too. And hopefully they feel that. And I like the way you
Yeah.
said that. That's going to be my little highlight reel for this podcast. Well, let's switch it over to like a little more fun story type. And so this is a little funny story I have for you. So I was in Okinawa, and you guys fly the Harriers, yeah? Marines got the Harriers,
Yeah.
which is cool. Well, I saw a colonel drop one on its belly without the landing gear down, and I don't think I've ever seen a madder human being in my life. This guy was on a flight line, which was 100 yards away from me, and I could hear every word he was saying as he came out of this thing. Apparently, the landing gear didn't come down. He set it down on his belly and got out of the cockpit as if with no help, just climbs out like a beast. He's a full bird, and he is screaming. And I was like, oh boy, I'm glad. I hope I'm not. I'm glad I'm not his crew chief, because that guy's about to get killed. Do you have any fun stories from when you're in that were like really entertaining?
Yeah, dude. So yeah, so one thing about being like in the air wing, especially if your air crew, your pilots and the air crew have a really close relationship, because you're flying with these guys. You're the rear view mirrors, the side view mirrors of the pilots. You're making sure that they know what's coming. You're calling things out. You're calling the bird down. So you got to keep these guys safe at all costs. So the relationship you guys have is super tight. It's not like the ground side. Like sergeants and captains, they're homies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
they are.
air crew and pilots, but sergeant and the captains are two fun ranks. So we used to we used to travel on these cross country trips to weapons and tactics in Yuma, Arizona every year. And so we'd fly cross country, and you would be out, and so yeah, I'm gonna admit all this right now. So
That's how I
so
feel too. I'm like, do I
yeah,
really want to say all this on? This is going to be heard by a lot of people.
yeah, but I just remember, we were flying into San Antonio, and San Antonio, Texas is a really cool spot to stop over for a flight. And we had an issue with the main rotor head dampener system, and we needed to stay for a few extra days. So I was the airframes mechanic. That was my system that I worked on. So I didn't think that it was safe to fly, obviously, So
Yeah,
we
obviously.
ended up staying in San Antonio for close to a week, and we were just partying with our officers, like getting wasted, like having a good time. And it was just
Riverwalk, Riverwalk.
Riverwalk, exactly, bro.
Yeah,
So we,
man.
we were just, getting hammered, and we went to like the Coyote Ugly Bar one night. And I just remember like going in there, and like they have these little drinking competitions between you and people in there. And of course, me being, West,
Yeah.
I went in there and entered the competition to win. And like we're just the things that you do in the Marine Corps that you don't forget, the camaraderie you have, these fun times that you have, getting hammered and going to Six Flags, and like, betting on who's going to throw up on the drop zone. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
so I will always say, like, you're able to do these really fun things in the military. It's not all serious. And when you can connect with your guys, especially some of the pilots, like we get into fights with our pilots, like wrestling our pilots and like just stuff like that. Like, and I think like some of those experiences that I had are some of the most memorable times, and it was always fun running amok in San Antonio, like downing a bird, so you have a few extra days in the in San Antonio to party, and then
It's
be
broken.
yeah, and then being hung over and traveling through the desert and flying planes and like getting to experience things that you normally wouldn't do. And yeah, so we always had some fun on some of these smaller detachments, man. I love them.
I know I like that story, you know why? Because honestly, like, people have a perspective of the military and what we do, and they don't realize that some of the best days of my life were in the military because it was the first time in my life I ever had people around me that I knew cared about me and that we were all one unit and that they had my back. And I had never felt that. Like you as a child, I never saw love, I never saw
Yeah,
attention, I never saw anyone who cared about me. I didn't know that was a thing. So the first time in your life you feel like you're a part of something that can't be broken. And no matter what's coming your way, we're invincible as a team. And that's a freaking camaraderie and a feeling that only veterans know. And the feeling of that connectivity between you and these other humans. We don't You'll never see a veterans organization stand for Black Lives Matter or any other freaking color related to the issue because from the moment we're entered into the military, we're brain trained to be green. We're all
that's
green,
right.
every single one of us. And whoever's got your six, doesn't matter who he is, what color he is, what race they are, whatever, we don't care. And that's why veterans are always the way we are, is because we love and respect each other deeply. And I feel like that connective tissue has got to be brought to the veteran community more.
Yeah,
I stay on military bases in my camper or my bus because of the fact that I like to be around vets. And I'm happen to have McDill right here in my backyard, which is where all the special ops train, which
hmm
makes me, which I love being around these guys, right? Because they're the creme de la creme. They're the top notch dudes for
yeah,
every branch is all on one base, which also creates fun camaraderie. So like, and they understand you more than, the civilian sector. But yeah, man, some of the best memories I have are from the service, and they were like probably not the best situations, but we made them into absolutely amazing situations. And
that's right.
you look back on it and you think to yourself, well, wow, that was fun.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere from like you're eating frozen SpaghettiOs out of a can with your best friend in the military
MREs,
on
dude, MREs, yeah,
Thanksgiving Day, and you just couldn't be happier that you got a couple hours
exactly.
off to sit down and eat some, you know what I mean? Like the little things that give you such a deeper and larger appreciation for the bigger things in life. Like, so we go out here after serving in the military and like the freedom, just being free, right? Not being told what to do every single day, like just being free, which comes with its own issues, but like just being free to experience the life you want after sacrificing 4 or 5 years of your life for what you think is a greater good. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's beautiful, man. So yeah, that was I do miss some of those times for sure.
Yeah, I think we can recreate that and bring that back with what we're doing. And obviously, I would love to have you a part of my organization at Vets to Yoga,
Yeah.
knowing now that you've used veterans or yoga as well, meditation. Obviously, you're a go-getter like me, so it's going to take a bunch of us to make this stuff happen. And I know you're already on board for anything and everything that we need because you're
Hmm.
just like I am. You're committed to the cause, and we're going to make this happen again. I believe that I already see the big picture and I've always seen it. I've always had a vision of what it will look like, which I think is why Ben coined me the architect because he says that I'm the only one that can see the whole picture. But you're going to be a massive part of that because, man, your story is just dynamite and you're so in synchronicity in line with me. And, I'm dealing with brain issues daily. You're dealing with brain issues daily.
Yep.
We can share our knowledge, we can share our information, we can share our wisdom, we can share our experiences, and we can help each other become healthier and happier and live a better life. And let's face it, no matter what we do, we're never going to have it easy.
Yeah.
It's not the nature of our lives. That's not what we were built for. So we're gonna have to struggle. We're gonna have to push through things. But now's our time. Now's our time to really kind of shine and make a difference in the world and leave a legacy behind for other people to have hope and to realize that there's nothing wrong with these things that we've went through and you're going through. You also served in an entirely different generation than I did. I was in the 90s. Okay. We didn't have phones. We didn't have cameras. We didn't have anything. No internet. We didn't get to
Oh
talk to
man,
anybody, bro. When we deployed,
the
we were
Stone Age.
gone. It was you mailed a letter that got there after you got home.
Oh man, that's
So I didn't
hilarious.
I love the fact that people nowadays are like on their phone, FaceTiming. I'm like,
Yeah.
really?
Yep.
Really? I went 6 months without talking to a single person. You know what I mean? Like, you know how mad I was that you guys have the things you have now. And
Yeah,
when I
bro.
see the bases and I'm like, they have facilities now in Iraq.
Yeah. Hey,
Like, we had
honestly,
a chain link fence with a tent.
yeah, we got it. We have it pretty good. When you can make the deployment theater, the combat theater easier, man, it sure makes your overall experience easier. Because I went, my first deployment was completely different from my second deployment. You had Wi-Fi the second deployment. The first deployment, you still had tents out
You were
there.
in the
You know what
Air
I mean?
Force. I was in the
Yeah,
Marines.
yeah. So it's
All,
nice. It's nice to
all vets who
experience.
served before 2001 were Marines.
Yeah, bro, that's
I mean, it
hilarious.
was serious, bro. When I left, you did not. I can't even tell you, bro. I didn't talk to or see anybody for so long, and I'd mail one letter, and it wouldn't get back till after I got back. I was like, "Is this a
That's
joke?"
hilarious, bro.
You know, like
Yeah,
what a different, what
times
a
have changed.
different military. All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you spending time with me, man. Thank you so much. This has been one of my most fun episodes ever. I look forward to getting to know you better. I guarantee you we're going to help each other out in a lot of ways. I want you a part of my Vets Yoga organization for sure. Let's share. Let's get in touch soon and talk more. But I'm going to get this up and out. Send me a picture of you. I'm going to put you on a little magazine cover, and that'll be our promo piece.
All right,
By
brother.
the way,
Appreciate it, man.
thank you for everything you've done, and thank you for everything you're doing. I appreciate you very much, and I know everybody else does too. Even if they don't act like it, they do. I mean, let's face it, we're not exactly getting praised for our service these days, but it's getting better. It's getting better.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
getting better. So, for those of you out there that are also in that situation, know that it's getting better. I'll never forget 9/11. I wore a uniform. I was in a flight suit. Walked into stores on 9/10, 2001, and nobody noticed me. Nobody said a word to me. On the 12th of that month, people were opening doors, picking up my tab, paying my bill, and all of a sudden people appreciated us because we were valuable to them. This generation has not seen tragedy in the United States the way that we did in 2001. So they don't have the same level of appreciation and respect for the armed forces. And I don't think that that's a good thing, but I also think it's something that can be fixed. I think that we can start bringing more visibility through these conversations, through these types of podcasts, through these types of interviews. Man, this is a great interview for people to listen to that really need to hear. Oh, look, there's two veterans right there. Both of them have really challenging situations, but they've also made the best of them. And look at it, they can laugh at it now, they can have fun with it. And we join together now, and we're brothers outside of the military.
that's right.
It just keeps us connected for the rest of our lives, and that's what we need to be doing. We need to be bringing all these vets together. So I appreciate your time, brother. I appreciate your story. I appreciate you opening up to me, and we'll do this again.
All right, brother.
Anytime's over. Have a wonderful day, brother. I'll talk to you
All right.
soon.
You too, man. Later.